so you can like get a fireman's pole to just slide down into the studio.
I've just seen Rob's hair. What's happened?
What the hell?
That's
Have you become a Space Marine Lieutenant Sergeant or something?
Hello, welcome to the Untitled Game. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to 40k Thursdays. Some people call it Ladies' Night. I call it one of the best 40k shows on the planet. And that's only because of my amazing show host, the phenomenal Nikolai Pert. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
I'm glorious. Thank you
Tired,
very
I
much.
imagine.
Yeah, also tired. Thank you. And we're also joined by, he's a one-man wonder. Some say he's the original hot take king. Yeah. And if he doesn't respond, in an upbeat and positive way, we know that it means he really loves us. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show.
Like me, you pussy.
There we go. Nailed
Perfect.
it.
Good job.
This is all.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my hair has been legended. I've cut off all my hair. That shouldn't be much of an issue. I normally wear my hat. I'm actually feeling very, very uncomfortable without my hat. When I had to
It's
stream
also very sweaty today, though, right?
No, I lost it while I was building the venue.
What, your hair or your hat?
My hat. I think it's inside a stud wall. I can't really be certain, if I'm honest.
I was going to say, did Nathan just accidentally take a...
If it's inside a stud wall, what you want to do, Rob, is get a cat, throw it in the wall. Cat will retrieve the hat.
Nikos knows.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Perfect, I believe.
I'm very happy to have everyone on the show. Today's show, we're going to be seeing how Nick and Tom are and what's going on in the world of 40k. That's going to be kind of the hot goss. We'll be discussing some of the news, and that'll be it. I haven't got a lot to bring to the show today. I'd like to be upfront about that, but that's because some of the things we're referencing when we talk about the venue is the T-Sports Arena is currently under construction.
Yeah, that is very exciting news.
It is very exciting. In the heart of Nottingham City Centre, the T-Sports Arena is taking shape, which is very, very fun because obviously we plan on doing the Super Series there, but some days we obviously, eventually we're going to plan to run tournaments, do showcase games. There's lots. And obviously, being the Honest Wargamer Clubhouse as well, it'll be brilliant because both Nick, Tom, and everyone, and you guys will be able to be part of that kind of environment, which I'm very excited about for the future, right?
We're going to run a fencing league. It's going to be fantastic.
Yes, that's the plan. It's in a new location, everyone. So it's in a new location to where we record the show, or where we previously record the show. Maybe we'll be moving the show permanently to there in the kind of COVID environment, but again, that's to be seen and to be discussed at some point in the future. Okay, welcome to the show. Patreon guys, thank you. Couldn't do it without you. Podcast guys, stay hydrated. And Twitch chat, Scott B, Rura, Alandro, Eyeglasses, thanks. Welcome to the show. Talking 40k. Nick, Tom. Nick, let's start with you, because Tom's been away for a while, so we'll hit him up after. How have you been? What's been going on?
I've been very well, thank you. 40k news. I've been... I played a game on Wednesday this week, so I played 2 games this week. The one on Wednesday, I played with my new Eldar army that I've been putting together.
I love how you've been criticizing me for that for years, and now you're playing an Eldar army.
Yes, but this Eldar army is a Wraith-only army, apart from some minor tweaks I've made after this game.
Nick,
so
it still makes
you only Wraiths.
It still makes you a dick, and I'm not going to change that opinion. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I'll take it. So it's a Wraith-only army. So 3 Wave Serpents, 3 Units of 5 Wraith Guard, 2 Wraith Lords, 2 Wraith Seers, and that was basically the list. But I'm adding in some Dire Avengers because after the game I realised I need some
Dire Avengers
cheap. Sorry, not Dire Avengers. Strike and Scorpions.
Dire Avengers are good though.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So I needed some cheap troops for screening and other missions and things like that. But yeah, so I played. What I liked though is it was my first game with Eldar, and I played my long-term Eldar nemesis, my friend Paul, who's played Eldar for a long, long time. So it's really cool. I really like the Wraith Lord models and the Wraith Guard. And I'm doing something quite ambitious with this army. So I'm shaving off all the gemstones on all the models, so they've got really nice curved, flat, panelled armor. I'm going to try for the first time ever, like a non-metallic metal, but chrome. So it's all really, really shiny chrome effect, which looks cool if you pull it off. Hopefully I can pull it off. But the other ambitious thing that I'm super excited about, which kind of goes back to a show you did recently, Rob, about 3D printing. So my plan is, because the look of the theme of the army is, I'm inspired by like retro 80s sci-fi art, and also Mars Attacks. So because I think the Wraith Lord models look kind of like 80s sci-fi art kind of dudes. So my plan for the heads, I'm not putting the Wraith heads on. I'm going to hopefully, if it all works, 3D scan my head, get someone to 3D print my head,
Oh dear.
and then have it in a see-through globe with like fluid in it floating around
Yes.
as the
Yes.
That is really
Like
cool.
future
But it's
armor.
also really weird.
Yeah, like kind of like the floating heads in Future Armor on each model.
Yeah, I'm into that in a
Um,
big way. I'd just like to
yeah, so
point
that's
out
my
in a
plan.
big. Oh, that's awesome. That's really awesome. I can't wait to see that in progression. So please bring some pictures next time, and I can put them on the stream as you talk about it.
Yeah,
Because
I will do.
because we've got the ability to do that now. That's fun, but you obviously still a dick for playing Eldar.
That's true. Yeah, I'll take it. I've
Good.
always been a dick. I've always been a dick though, so it's fine. It makes sense.
Talking about 3D printing, just very quickly, the
Well, I guess
guy.
we're talking about dicks, but
Well, no. The guy. When I was in the venue today, so the venue is got a 3D print farm in it as well, which is really exciting, called the Minifactorum. But there's also another 3D printer who's just moved in, or actually a mold caster. I can't remember what the actual word is for it. Anyway, but it's Ramshackle Games, your guy.
Oh, has he moved in?
Yeah, he's moved in. He was there
Oh,
today.
sick. Was it you met Curtis?
Yeah, he was there today, hanging out. He's like,
Brilliant.
I'm gonna be printing some sweet ass terrain, and I was like, sweet. Like, if it's good enough, we'll put it on the show, and like, we'll play tournaments on it. And he's like, that seems like a match made in heaven. I was like, there's a reason that we're doing the Super Series above a 3D print studio. Seems to make loads of sense. So that's it, cool. And if you don't know, Ramshackle Games is Nick's maybe favorite studio.
Definitely one of my favorite like independent miniature makers. Because Curtis is an awesome dude, and he makes like really, really characterful sculpts and stuff like that. So if you want like an alternate squats army, because squats are definitely coming out in the near future. If you want to get ahead of the curve and get a squats army ready, he does quite a good. Well, I think he's part of a Kickstarter for like a alternate squats sculpt army.
Would are alternate squats called squits?
Yeah, that could be the squits. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I am pleasant for print time, everyone. That's the exact. Okay, good. All right, and then I know that you played Tom Layton today of a bit of 40k, so maybe we'll cover that later.
Yes.
sure. Yeah, sounds good.
Which is fun. Okay, Tom, how have you been? You've been away for a while. Where have you been?
Mate, I'm good. I've been to Northern Ireland for a family event, and then I happened to leave like 2 Thursdays ago, and then I came back like very late last Thursday. So it was one of those where I just missed the show both times, which was unfortunate. But anyway, I'm back now, and I've had a really good day. You know when you have one of those days where you never really think back and think, oh, that was a great day. You think more, everything was just kind of good and fine, and then you had some really good bits in your day, and you think, you know what, today was a really nice day. I've had one of those today, and it's been good. I woke up, I had some sausages. I went and played Nick. That was good. Great game, really good fun. Lots of funny moments in there as well. I then went to Warhammer World. I bought some new models. I bought a scrap launcher for my Ogre tribes. Ooh. And then I wanted to get some HQs for my custodes because, sorry again from the chat, made me a bunch of naked JoJo custodes, which I'm very much looking forward to using. But I need some HQs because I don't want to like use one of those as the HQs because then you can't really tell them apart. So I've got Trajan Valoris, and they'd run out of the Virtus Praetor bikes, so I couldn't make myself a shield captain. So what I did instead was I went to the Forge World store, and I got something called a Gaia Falcon, which is the Forge World Custodes jet bike. And it could almost be painted like he's riding a giant penis, which is perfect for my army. And then when I got to the till, the guy at the till, Then when I got to the till, the guy made a joke about me putting the Ogre tribes on the bikes to make a naked custodes army. Little does he know, that's kind of what's already happening. I'm already on that. I then got home. I've paid off all my debts apart from my student loans. That was really nice to do. That's sorted myself out. I finished a bunch of painting projects. I finished painting all my Nurglings. That's been great. I finished doing a bunch of bases, my Ogre War tribes, covered in microbeads, of course. Look at that. Very happy with that. And then I've almost finished my first Mournfang Cavalry, which you can't see, but there you are. There's
Perfection.
proof. It's there. It exists. And hopefully I should be finishing that over the course of the show. And then I'm going to start another couple of projects because I've got a new system working for how I paint things.
Ooh.
I always have 4 projects on the go. I have my Imperium project.
Hold on. No, I want to cycle back. I want to cycle
I'm
back.
happy.
No, I want to cycle back to. I have a new system. I always have 4 things on the go at once.
I think it's a great system.
So
Why?
the mini things.
Okay, I'll jump in after Tom.
I'm going to show you what I've got. So, I previously had I have an Imperium project, which is putting bases on all my nude custodes. That's project 1. Project 2 is my Chaos project, and that's going to be painting 16 Screamers of Tzeentch. I've then got a Xenos project, which is finishing my Stomper. And then I've got an AOS project, which is painting my Ogre War tribes. And then when I finish my AOS project, I replace it with a new AOS project. And then while something's drying, I go and paint something else. And it keeps me fresh and enjoying what I'm painting. I'm not becoming a custode player. I'm testing it. I play every faction, thank you very much. I just want to play with my naked dudes.
Yeah,
that's true.
I saw you lurking on the Canhammer chat, on the Canhammer Discord,
Oh,
and just like...
Well, I don't think I can have a Discord, to be honest, dude.
I've seen you play all those Harlequin armies.
I don't play those.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Eldar. I can't bring myself to play it. You know, I just can't bring myself to play Eldar. It's awful faction.
Yeah, only awful people play Eldar.
Agreed.
Terrible people.
We all agree with that being true.
Oh.
I'm the only holdout now, and I'm not doing it.
So I'm just going to add.
Harlequins. That's Eldar.
But no, Harlequins don't count as Eldar. Twitch chat, back me up. Do they do? Or do they not?
Do they have the
what's the faction keyword, guys?
Pardon me?
Yeah. Do they have
Jokers.
the Oceanic keyword?
Jokers.
They have the Eldari keyword, I think. Yeah,
Eldari.
they don't have it. So Doodada has commented on my background. Now, one of my friends has taught me that the best way to attract people to your stream is to do a promo with serious-looking big men. So what I've done is I have put a background with some very serious-looking big fellas. There you are.
Max
so
and Paddy from
a
spin-off of one of my favourite TV shows ever, Phoenix Nights. If anything, as you guys know, I was a DJ, but also a nightclub promoter. Phoenix Nights is exactly how I identify myself as a quality club night. Like not even close. Like
I feel like Phoenix Nights is a very good comparison to what we actually do. It's just really scuffed, but we pretend.
Yeah. The only Wargamer is basically the Phoenix Nights of content for 40k and 80 Sigma, and I'm not mad about it at all. I'm not close to mad about it.
Hey, Phoenix Nights is great,
don't stand
so
up on the
I'm happy to be there.
side, you may die. Just
we've been getting shout outs all across the place at the minute. The show has. We've been so I was on 40k Today the other day explaining the Super Series, which was fun. We got shout outs on Chapter Tactics, which is just basically all over the place. Like we got so many. We're everywhere. No one likes us.
I listened to the 40k Today one, and you were talking about like the T-Sport stuff, and then immediately he drops in a Pro Tabletop, and I was like, yeah, Pro Tabletop is fucking shit compared to this. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
I was nice about it though. He's a great guy. I haven't had many chats with him, but he is super fun to talk to, and just says some really nice. Yeah, he's really nice. He's
an old War Machine player as well, so he's kind of got that kind of background and dynamic. So when you used to play War Machine, you kind of have to know a little bit about like win cons and stuff anyway. So yeah, good dude.
Yes. Yeah, he seems
I
like
I wouldn't know. I've never been on the show.
Nick, that's because you're our sleeper agent.
No,
you're who we send round when, like, you're the boys. You know, someone's they give
have you ever
shit.
seen the show where the sheriffs are coming?
Yeah.
No.
Right, it's a show about people who haven't paid their court debts, so they send some big men round to their house to go and collect, and if they don't pay, they take stuff away. There's another show called Don't Pay, We Take It Away as well. That's another recommendation for you. It's basically the same thing.
Okay, so sorry, I'm just talking to Big Fish in the chat, who's actually Big Fish, as you know. No, you know who he is, Nick, and Tom. You both know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big Fish is
I
actually
know
building.
his real name.
Yeah, you do. But he's building the tables for the Super Series. So,
Oh, that's
excellent.
So he's bringing them next week, which is very exciting.
Nice.
Anyway, my week, Tom, I'm sure there's more to actually ask you about in a moment. My week has been consumed with painting. Today I was getting, I'm not a very good painter anyway of models. Well, according to Nathan Prescott, I'm also not a good painter of walls of buildings. But I challenge you, gentlemen, to paint white emotion on a white wall and even understand where you're meant to.
Do you want to see it? Because that's what I did to my office like 3 weeks ago.
No, I don't.
It's May. But it's all over the walls. I've got some shiny emulsion over here.
So I imagine what was happening, Rob, is you'd paint one section of wall and then start talking to someone and then go back and paint the same section of wall again. And then it would frustrate Nathan.
It's 2 thick coats of paint.
None of that happened. I was working super hard. Big shout out to my man Dan, who also turned up to do some painting with us today. But yeah, anyway, so I've done nothing but that. So I have been swamped with that work. This is, like I told you guys, this is my 4th 16-hour day in a row now. Because the venue is, if you guys are interested, it's an old nightclub. So we've smashed a bar apart. Well, actually, interestingly, we took the bar top off, and then it turned into another bar top, and then a third bar top.
Really?
And I'll give you one opportunity to guess what was under the third bar top.
Was it Nathan Prescott?
No.
Some sort of mutated colony of rats that had grown into some sort of civilization.
No, it was
had, like, running water, everything.
There were 3 pianos.
3 pianos.
Yeah, they'd put like some perspex over the keys, I think, and effectively what they'd done is because we found out when the roof was put in, or like the kind of false ceiling, like it was put in like 1962. So I reckon like this was some old timey jazz bar at one point.
Yeah.
And the bar top was made of pianos that kind of had some.
Could you still play them?
No, all the keys were kind of glued in, but it looked really cool. I was like, should we leave this? But no, we're not leaving that. So I haven't really been keeping up with much 40k. I know you guys have played a game, and because of that, we also haven't had any time to do any like codex review stuff or stuff that we plan to do in the future. So you guys, if you're listening to 40k content, you might have to put up with this for a few weeks while we work super hard on getting a venue. But once that venue's put together, we'll be able to do battle reps and over-explain games and so many cool things.
Yeah, some over-explains.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really good. But there has been some 40k news this week, which we could cover if you guys are interested.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
The first thing to talk about is that they have announced Games Workshop have announced a grab box. I think that's right. A grab box.
A supply,
a loot crate.
Drop.
A loot crate. Yeah. So you got half price things basically. Is that right? Yes. So basically you bought one. One of them was Imperium and one of them was Shadespire stuff. Question is, why is that a terrible decision and to buy that? That's my question.
I think it's a terrible decision because what is very, very likely to happen is it's going to be just old shit that they haven't sold that will probably be legends within a year, or just outdated by other rules that comes out soon.
Yes.
All right.
There's very little value in that, unless you just want those tanks you can make or whatever you get in there.
So I've got a slightly different perspective. I think there are 2 reasons to buy this. The first reason, you don't care what you're painting, you just want to paint stuff, and then you want to go and spend money on paints. The second reason, to split it up and hope you can flog it on eBay for a profit afterwards. Those are the 2 reasons.
But it's definitely going to be legends.
Yeah, but not everybody cares about that, though, right? Like, people still buy, like, tactical marines. I've got proof here. I have a box down here that is a Space Wolves tactical squad pack.
But did you buy that recently?
Yes. I bought
Why?
it this week. So I've got my 2 Indomituses here. Mm-hmm. And in this pack, you get 51
Tom, how many?
heads. 2 Indomituses.
And how did you get them both?
I paid for one, and then I won the other one off Falrak.
Oh, your friend who you play Warhammer with sometimes.
I haven't played Warhammer with him because we cancelled the game.
But you arranged to play a game.
We did.
Did you arrange to play a game before you won the box?
No.
Did you arrange to do it after you won the box?
Yeah, because I said I'll just come and pick up the box and we'll have a game.
When you
Have
were so when you were arranging the game, did you ask him to win the thing then, or was it a different time?
I mean, if you go into his Discord, underneath the notification that says I've won, the entire chat is just spammed rigged as the you could put the reaction emotes underneath it. It
So
literally just says rigged.
So are we saying that Valrak intentionally let you win the box because of one, he wants to play Warhammer against you because you're his idol. Yeah. How true is that?
I don't think that's true at all. All I'm saying is I wanted to turn these Space Marines into Space Wolves, so I bought this box full of heads because it's the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah. So a dude like asks, is this the only way Varek can get a game of 40k? Free Indomitus every game.
I'll pay you one box of toilet paper. I only want one pack.
So why did you buy the Space Wolves?
Because I want to turn my Marines from Indomitus into Space Wolves.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's for the bits. It's for the bits.
Yeah. So you get 51 heads, I believe, in my box. At least you used to in 2012.
But Tom, you were using that as an argument for people wanting to buy Space Marines on eBay. Your situation is an incredibly niche situation.
I was hoping you'd have forgotten about that.
I don't think it applies. Yeah, I don't think it applies. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for getting my back on that one.
We locked down the entirety of Manchester and Greater Manchester, so we couldn't play the game. But I did still get my Indomitus, so it was fine.
Oh, good. All right. Well, sweet potatoes. Good. Okay, so the loot boxes. What do we think? Terrible decision to buy into it because it's stuff that's going to be legended very soon.
Do we know how much it is?
No. They sold out immediately. They sold out before. They sold out before. This is fascinating. They sold out before they even made a post on the community site.
I kind of want to wait and see what's actually in them first before I'm assuming it's going to be that, but you never know. There might be like the odd one that has a full Custodians army in it or something.
Well, they were £75, and because you said you got 50% of stuff off, so it's a £150 box allegedly for £75. But the kind of interesting element about it is it's 50% off, right? But if you buy from a local gaming store, then you get 25% off anyway. So you're really getting 25% off because you're buying from Games Workshop Direct.
I've just got that email about don't forget your new #40k app. I was trying my best to forget it.
We're not talking about the app ever again.
Yeah. Games Workshop have emailed me to make sure I'm reminded of this horror. So
yeah, we don't need to ever talk about the app because
we don't want to give people flack.
Well, we're also just assume everyone who uses the app is a bootlicker is the plan right now. That's our new.
Okay, that's fair. Okay,
that's our new.
I did listen to that episode. So
yeah. So anyway, loot boxes. No one cares. Not really an issue. £45 discount.
I'd be interested to find out what people actually get in it. It'd be really interesting to actually see what is in there and if it is actually good value. But I doubt it will be, particularly long-term value.
Yeah,
that's 10 grotesques.
Yeah, £150. It's 10 grotesques, or it's 6 Met guns. That's what it is.
Yeah, almost £1 a point.
So other news is we've started to see some leaked data sheets. Not enough to really even properly talk about, although I'm sure someone will make a 10-minute long video about.
Can't see the keywords or the points or anything like that.
Yes. We did see some key things. So we've seen some of the Necron stuff. Nick, what did you think of the Necron stuff?
I've not looked at it all, but I know Scarabs have got buff again. So when they roll a 6 to hit, they auto wound, which I think they used to have an ability like that. So that's nice. And Necron Warriors got they always reroll 1s for that reanimation, which is pretty good. Because I don't think there was anything like that before that gave you that ability. It was usually reanimate again or
+1 or something like that.
+1, kind of shenanigans. So it should obviously that will make them more resilient, but it doesn't get rid of the problem of if you don't get a chance to reanimate, then it's irrelevant.
It just means that you actually have to remove that unit, though, right? So you have to focus fire, and be more certain that you're going to kill it, rather than just saying, "I'll take the risk on the reanimate."
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
but I think most people played it into Necrons that way anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So,
Or
yeah,
more often, yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Yeah. So did you see anything else? Did you see the big
No, I haven't.
swole new destroyer? He looks good.
No, I haven't. No, I've seen. I saw the new destroyer type. I've looked at their thing. But I've not looked at the big lord. I know the new destroyers. They're pretty quick, like movement 8, and they're like strength 5, but strength 7 with some weapons or something like that. And they've all got good AP and flat damage, like 2 and 3. So they're pretty good at like killing Primaris type infantry and stuff like that. And I suppose
I,
tanks as well.
I do actually wonder if we're going to start to see. I actually think that that's a really good point, by the way. A couple of things. I think anything that we see of the Necrons doesn't matter because with the new codex coming out, it's almost without. It's so heavily without context.
Yes.
It's like someone's tweet from 2012.
Yeah.
But so it doesn't really apply or mean much, but it's cool to see some like new weapon profiles. I like seeing the new weapon profiles. We have seen some new weapon profiles though on the Marines. Sorry, let me finish 2 points though. Number one, I do wonder if with the Xenos, so with the Marines, specifically the Primaris now being the standard, I do wonder if what we'll start to see is a lot of 2 wound or damage 2 weapons knocking out there, kind of not designed to kill the Primaris, but a little bit. They might just like randomly start adding saying this weapon is 2 damage, this weapon is 2 damage. So you've got some options in your toolbox, whereas in 8th edition and also the edition before, they kind of didn't have. They carried over all the weapons before, right? So it's either damage 1 or it's D3 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But we might start to see some change ups, which I think would be quite good. Do you get that?
Yeah, and I think it would probably help speed up the game as well, because they have made quite a lot of efforts recently to speed up the game, and I think particularly D3 damage against Primaris, like a 2 wound model, is important to roll it one at a time because of how the as damage overspill kind of works.
Yeah.
So having everything flat damage would speed that up because you go, oh, I've got 3 through on 2 3 wound models, 2 damage 2 damage kills one, 2 damage 2 wounds of that one, rather than having to like roll each one out painstakingly.
It is frustrating. It is frustrating. So that was my first point. My second point is that we've seen quite a few, well, not quite a few, but some new marine rules. Specifically, we've seen a new melter rule, and it looks like multi-melters, it looks like they're getting an upgrade. So they're being redesigned. Have you seen that, Tom?
I've seen odds and ends. I haven't delved into it too much just because I've just been sat here painting, watching based guitar compilations. So
okay.
I'm going to be honest. You might need to explain it to me so I can comment.
Nothing in particular. It's now just 2 shots if you're in half range. So instead
I saw
of...
that bit. Sorry, I thought there was going to be some more.
And the damage D6 plus 2, right?
Yeah, damage D6 plus 2. So 2 shots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rather than the
and at half range, it's damage. It's D6 plus 2, which is a big deal. Like,
does that apply to the Eradicators, by the way?
I don't think we saw that on their profile, no, because they're
Okay.
like a different weapon. I don't think they're not multi-melters. They are
I was going to say those things are already filled.
whatever their new weapon name is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got melter rifles. So the real question is are we going to see this with all multi-melters? Is this going to be the new weapon profile for multi-melters, like, once the Marine book is out? And how do you feel about that? Because I actually think that's quite cool. It makes them very different to Plasma, and it makes them far more effective as well. So I quite like it. It also means like the random one-shot multi-melter on a vehicle is a little there's more shots, there's more consistency, and that D6 plus 2 means you're always doing the flat 3 damage, but it means you can spike some big damage. 16 damage potentially coming out of some multi-melters.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
Yeah. Tom, you got any thoughts?
And not particularly on melters. I'm more interested in like what they're going to be put on anyway. Like things like attack bikes could even be decent. I'm just looking at a graph that someone's put up about what the percentage of lists on the top tables were this weekend, and I feel like looking at it, the data is like way too. There's far too much like variation because the sample size is so small. Plus, there's a bunch of data missing. It's literally just a pie chart with a bunch of numbers on it, and it doesn't tell me how many of each faction that actually was. There's a lot of 3.4%, which makes me feel like that was like one faction appearing once, and that's like the percentage amount, right? So I'm just looking at some stats and trying to work out if they actually mean anything, and the answer I'm coming up with is no.
Okay, all right. Well,
All it means is what people are playing. Like, there's a lot of Marines, there's a lot of Custodes, and then everything else is just.
So you got nothing to say about the multi-melter rule?
Well, it's not. It's fine. It's just multi-melters very much depend upon what they're going to be facing, right? For example, if you're going to be hitting things like 360 conscripts, you're not going to be doing very much of your multi-melter. They're good depending upon the context of what they hit. I feel like this was probably a necessary buff because even when you hit the things that they were meant to be good into, they were getting outperformed by other things. But it's still very much contextual in what you're likely to be hitting to see how valuable they are.
But the important part is what they were meant to be hitting was vehicles.
Right, and now they're actually good at it, which is good.
Yeah, and now they're good at it. And I actually think that's. Sorry, Nick. After you.
I was gonna say I don't think I ever really saw or took a multi-melter or even a melter in 8th edition in its entirety, because I think you said it earlier, Rob, that they basically do the same job and had a very similar profile to las cannons and missile launchers.
Yeah.
So it's good that they're different. That they work differently now because there's
more consistency there as well. I feel like a lot of the problem with the multi-melters. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the problem with the multi-melters is when 8th edition dropped, you had a change in the wounds chart. So beforehand, the way the wounds chart worked was if you were like 1 point of strength above your opponent, then you would wound on 3s. If you were like 3 points, you'd wound on 2s or what have you, or something like that. And there was a point where, for example, strength 3 weaponry couldn't wound toughness 7 stuff, right? Whereas in 8th edition, they've widened it out so weapons can always wound something, but also it's a bigger threshold to get that wound on 6s or wound on 5s, right? Which meant that it often became more efficient just to take lots of crap guns and fire 120 shots at a thing rather than take one melter gun or multi-melter and just fire that at it.
Yes. Yeah, and I think also the consistency with the damage as well is really, really important because that consistency with D6 plus 2 means that they've added the viability of the weapon. What's also, I think, very good, again, compliments to Games Workshop here, whether or not they intended or not, is they recognise, this is something I didn't think that we would see. They've looked at a single individual weapon and they've said, right, this isn't fit for the job it's meant to do in the game. Like, this isn't useful. So, let's reevaluate it. Let's not be scared to just change something that's been the same way for a long time. Let's fix it a bit, and let's make it more viable at the role it's meant to achieve.
Or at least make it as part of a discussion for what you take, rather than it just being an instant write-off.
Yeah. Exactly. And I actually think that that's really exciting news. It might not seem it on the surface. You'd be like, okay, so they changed multi-metal, so what? But that means that they could change literally everything. Like, if they're willing to just change some of these things that we've known, like missile launchers. Yeah, missile launchers are pretty cool. Like, but you don't really see them. I'd quite like to see squads of missile launchers. I think that's always pretty fun. Marines just like with shoulder.
Oh man.
Well, they kind of have changed them now with the blast rule because that's a new thing that they have. So that gives them another thing to make them different to like a las cannon.
Rob, give me flashbacks to 2012, 2013 Space Wolves over here.
Good. But like, my point is that I actually love the concept that they are not only changing the rules. Changing the rules is really important. They haven't just given it a new name or called it something else. They've looked at something. They've said this isn't good. Let's do something. That's actually really important to me because multi-metals exist everywhere, right? Like, there's loads of armies with multi-metals or weapons with multi-metals.
Well, you say they exist everywhere.
It is kind of Games Workshop's thing to release something that isn't very good and then change it slowly over time.
Or the other way around. Right?
Yeah.
Things that drop and then they're instantly, utterly busted. Yeah. Like the Marine Codex. How many Marines do you think were sold over September, October?
Quite a few.
Loads.
They always sell quite a few, but like... They probably sold a lot of competitive Marines. How many whirlwinds did you see with Cronus in?
Yeah, loads, yeah.
Where's he now?
Nowhere.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to do it. So it is a habit that they have.
It is. But like, my point is I actually don't know of it. Like, so I remember when they relooked, but Index Tau. So when so I think they made a big deal, a big song and dance of it, and I think it was a good little moment when they changed the weapon that the Riptide carries, the Plasma Accelerator, I'm going to call it.
So the Ion Accelerator is
the Ion Accelerator.
Yeah.
So they changed.
And then there's the Heavy Burst Cannon as the other one with lots of shots.
Yeah, but they specifically between Index and
yes,
book, they changed it, and again they were like, "This is a bit shit. We've done this badly. Here's a redesign," and I think that's a really positive change. And
I mean, you still see the Heavy Burst Cannon, though.
They've done it for Necrons as well. So from Index to Codex, the Triarch Stalker Heat Ray went from 1d6 to 2d6 flamer shots and 1 shot to 2 shots for its focus beam.
So just to add context on Rob's thing about the Ion Accelerator, they actually did that twice. So not only did they change it in Index to Codex, it still wasn't being seen. So they changed it for the Greater Good Psychic Awakening to give you access to that busted Relic one.
Yes.
Which was good.
Yeah. Mr. Tumnus is saying, yeah, my Stormwolf has 2 twin multi-melters.
Yeah.
It's a bit more attractive now. Yeah, it's a bit more attractive now and not completely duff. Yeah, and that if these are the new sweeping multi-melter rules, and that's the thing, the change of the rules has made whole other units viable, and I think it's a real big positive step. And we're quick enough to criticize when they do something dumb, so I think we should applaud them for what I think is a lot more. It's easy enough to change a point, right, or a rata or a rule, but changing how a certain weapon plays across the board is going to be really big, and I think it's excellent. And I've laboured the point now enough, I think.
Yeah. Well, that said, one of the things me and Nikos... Oh, sorry, Nikos, you go.
I was going to say, like, yes, they've changed the multi-melter rule. How do we know that's going to be swept across all the multi-melters? Because they released the Indomitus box with Storm Shields worded one way, and yet, as far as I'm aware, because this came up on Wednesday, the invulnerable saves for everything that is a Storm Shield, even though it's named exactly the same, is still a 3+ invuln, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, you are correct.
So, but I presume that will change when the new Marine Codex comes out.
Yeah, we don't know. I'm just hoping that they do something. Yeah. They do that sensible. They make that sensible decision.
One of the things I was gonna bring up there was when we were talking about the Stormwolf. One of the things me and Nakos were talking about on Twitter were the Chin Orcs that Nikos has, right? Yeah. And someone tweeted at me and saying, "Hey, do you think Chinox could be good now because now they do a lot more damage?" And you're looking at it and you say, "Okay, yeah, but Chinox do a fantastic amount of damage now. It's actually very, very efficient for what you're paying." But it isn't really the issue that was stopping you from taking the Chinox in the first place, right? And as Nikos was saying, they get taken out very, very quickly. So although now there's more of an upside to taking them if they work, the reason why you were avoiding taking them is still there, right? Yeah. So the question is, with the Stormwolf, yes, you've added an extra strength on top of what it does, but is that patching over an inherent weakness that allows it to now become viable where you've got to deal with it in a different way now, for example? I don't know because I haven't actually used a Stormwolf, but it might be worth a test.
Okay. All right. Well, okay. So that's some news. Now, one of the other bits of news, this has pissed me off. This has pissed me right off, yeah? We saw the rules for the Space Marine gun emplacement, so not the building, whatever the F that's called, but the gun emplacement. So the Tech Marine on the gun. So
the ATV?
The ATV is the buggy.
Tarantula Sentry Gun?
Tarantula Sentry Gun. Right, let's ask Rob. Ask me what pissed it off. It pissed me off. I'll tell you.
What pissed you off, Rob?
So, a Space Marine is movement 6, right? Movement 6.
Yes.
Right? So I'm envisioning that he's a genetically enhanced super soldier. He's not even firing as he goes. You know, maybe he's firing a bolt pistol, but let's just give it, he's got 2 swords. He's just fucking jogging forward, and you think, fuck, that guy is lightning fast, covered in that armor. Yeah?
Yep.
Apparently, if I'm stood on top of a fixed gun emplacement, I can move at least half as fast. It's movement 3.
It's got tricycle wheels, Rob.
No, it doesn't. Does it?
Pretend it does.
It does not have tricycle. it does not have tricycle wheels. It doesn't have. It's just got
Use-
like a
it's-
fucking.
Mate, it's a narrative game. You're meant to use your imagination.
No
you know.
bollocks. Yeah, I am using. Yeah, how does a
It's-
fixed gun?
It's called a tarantula sentry gun, so surely it moves like a spider.
Hey Rob, have you ever seen like a kid on a space hopper?
Grav foot things.
Shimmies it along.
Just bouncing along the floor of the battlefield on your space hopper gun.
It's a unicycle. It can hop, but like even if it can hop
See,
on
chats
its,
with me.
even if it can hop on its space hopper style feet, it can hop half as fast as a genetically enhanced super soldier. Is what you're telling me?
He's got really good shoulders.
Bollocks. I just think balls. It to me. Yeah, look at it. No, it can't. It can't hop. They're like fully fixed.
of course it
There's a
can.
link
Oh,
in the
look at
chat.
it.
It's got grav plates. It hasn't got
All right.
grav
But
plates.
one thing I'll give you is, have you seen that picture of that guy pushing the truck, except he stood in the back of the truck and trying to push it?
No, that's
Well,
great.
That's that guy. Trying to hop along the floor in his
Right,
stupid space.
Right, it doesn't hover, and you're all bastards. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, and it pisses
It's
me
got
off that
skis on the floor. It's got skis on it, mate. You're just on an ice world.
Primaris does walking. Is no one else bothered? Is it just me?
I mean, I feel like we're just trying to.
It's got to have a movement value, hasn't it?
It's got some value as a butt of a joke. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's fine.
So everyone seems to be very certain that they're grav plates. I don't believe that shit at all. Space Marines only ever fight downhill. It looks like it has rollers on the tip of the feet, so imagine it folds up to push. Folds up to push? How? What world are you all living in? How are you seeing this move, is my question. Anyway, fine.
It's yeah, it just collapses in itself, and he picks it up like a little briefcase, moves it along.
I agree with Pokey John's comment. He says instead of moving the
what that
gun,
distance.
Gulliman moves the planet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. The Emperor's Will. Grav skids. Grav skids is
It's
my
a win.
favourite. Okay. Well, if no one else is pissed off about it, just me then. But I'm livid.
We are. We're pretending not to be. We're just enjoying it.
I'm livid. I don't really care, but I do think that there should be some. I do think that there should be some sort of like. I like the idea of it being a fixed gun emplacement, like boom, you're there now, live with it. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Let's apply the same to Met guns.
Met guns have got wheels, and they're movement 3.
Also, if Orcs believe that the Met guns are going to work, then Met guns are going to move. That's how this moves. Right. The Orcs see the Space Marine gun, and it looks a bit like their Met guns, so they believe it can move 3 inches, and therefore it does. With Orc psychic powers. It's like the entire reason the Emperor is still alive, because Orcs think the god of the Yumis is very powerful.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
It's got you
buddy.
there.
Yep.
Okay, so we've started to see some leaks. I think so. The books are meant to be out in October. So the Necron and the Space Marine Codex. But I'm assuming we're going to see almost all of them leaked way before then, because I think there's this release schedule as per. Yeah, it's pushed with a water bottle. Anyway, or maybe it moves. That's it. It fires the gun backwards to move it forward. It's 3 inches.
So it's like that scene in Four Lions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh dear.
Right, okay. Anyway, so we've started to see some leaks. Maybe we'll see some more. So another piece of news is the 40k Stats Center has returned with some stats. Not many, and not many tournament results, but some, few, not tons.
Is it really a stats center then? Is it stat like I don't know, what's smaller than a center?
Like a tent or a hut.
Stats hut? Stats hut?
Yeah, the stats hut. Let's call it the stats hut. But it brought up an interesting topic again, which I think of anyone on the show, or if anyone out there in the content creating world, we're the guys to have that conversation very quickly. So, notorious gamer, Mr. Alex Harrison, won the event. Now, Alex is famous.
He won the Vanguard
Tactics event.
The Vanguard series thing,
Which was one of the focuses. So the the results that we saw this weekend, there was a buggy list in Australia that ended up winning an event, which is super cool. So we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
But Alex is has cheated at least 2 events that I've seen. However, that was 2 years ago, and we haven't seen him do any cheating since then. And we've been at an event where we've done coverage, and he completely behaved himself. But the internet didn't let that conversation go. And so, I mean, which I think is fair. Everyone who's offended by his participation in tournaments, I think, is fine. It's fair to be offended. But similarly, as a society, we should believe in rehabilitation. And I guess Tom, maybe you know better than I. But before you comment, I'd like to talk to Nick about it. He's at an event, he's winning events. How do you feel about that? As some of the first 9th edition results we've seen, it's someone of Alex's, let's at least call it notoriety. How does that sound? What do you think?
Well, I think that I don't imagine he would have, because of his reformed character, so it seems so far. And he was at an event ran by the Vanguard Tactics guys. Stephen Box did that viral video about Patrick cheating him. And I don't think he's the kind of guy that would allow or be cool with any kind of shenanigans going on at his event. So I would probably believe that he was behaved himself. So, but if the internet is going to give him shit, then he's only got himself to blame because, he's done it once. People don't forget that easily, do they? For that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And
so,
and I think. So I've met him a couple of times. I think he's the kind of guy he'll just take that on the chin and not really care that much. So,
yeah. I think it was sad. And I don't mean this. I'm going to give you my 10 cents, and Tom, I'm going to give you a say on this. I think it was just sad that the first kind of stuff that we heard about for 9th edition 40k kind of had this malaise on it, especially when we had a whole bunch of events in maybe not 2019, 2018, where it felt like that was the year of just shit, wasn't it? It was the terrible terrain at the LGT, functional.
That was 2018.
Yeah, that was 2018. That's right. Yeah, that's what I said. It was the terrible terrain. It was the stuff being moved about at the LVO. It was the callback at the LVO event where it was it was the bit of drama I'm talking about, whatever that situation.
I can't remember now. Sorry.
It was the guy on the tabletop who was like.
The Gripando incident.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Ah, that was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Top 40k drama that was.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of, and I felt like 2019 had a lot less of that. Obviously, ignoring the Patrick situation, which as we said, Stephen from Vanguard Tactics obviously addressed. So my question, Tom, over to you. Sorry, on this.
I saw a guy buy 19 copies of the Realms of Chaos at Warhammer World this week.
What does that mean?
It means no comment.
Oh, okay.
I know you're very good to get me on, but at the same time, it's just there's nothing I can say that really has any value in this, right? I just want to be friends with everybody.
Oh, similar. I don't have any personal dog in this race. Yeah, it's not like I've got an Alex Harrison dartboard.
The problem is I've got personal dogs with everybody involved. I'm the opposite end. Literally everyone.
Okay, what good? Right. What? But both sides of an argument, you think?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the thread which you were referencing, and I'm just like, oh, what is this?
Well, I just think it was the only reason for bringing it up because
I get you.
Because it's sad, right, Nick? That's kind of not and not to be sad. It's just that I'm excited for 9th edition 40k. I'm excited for 9th edition competitive 40k, and my first kind of, and I love the stats center. I love what Peter and Val do. Yeah, I like hearing these things, and I do like hearing from the gamers as well. And so I kind of think, how do I feel about this? I have to bring that emotion with me because I live in the world. I can't just divorce myself from it.
I'm also a massive fan of them turning me into the most famous name in 40k as well. I'm really a big fan of that.
What?
Thanks to the Stat Center.
Oh, yes.
We didn't even have to mention the tournament I won over the last couple of weeks, but still.
We didn't mention it. No, we didn't mention it, no.
No, because it was at the end of 8th edition, so it doesn't count. I've got a trophy on its way. I'll show you guys when it arrives.
You deserve it. Okay, all right. Well, but the interesting point, it was a Successors Blood Angels army that took it out, which is interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you know what
Salamanders,
was in the list?
Sorry, Successor Salamanders. Sorry.
Do you know what was in the list?
No, but it is available on BCP.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure Stephen Box will do some content on it as well. But then over in Australia, it was one, and that we can move on from that conversation if everyone's happy with that. But yeah, I have had a haircut. It's because I want to look like you, Neil. And then.
Oh dear. You also snore about a similar amount, so you're already on good track there.
Oh, perfection.
I think Neil's going to beat it, Rob. He snores way louder than you.
Wow. That's a Swedish thing, I think.
I think you guys should share a room at some point, and we'll just have a competition.
I mean,
and see who can allow Nikos to get to sleep.
Can we book this in the other hotel, please? As far away from me as possible.
You're going to be the litmus test. We're going to see how long it takes you to get to sleep with Neil and with Rob, and whoever keeps you up the longest wins.
Yeah. I'm in. The big news. So we'll move on from the sad bit of news. And Tom, I don't mean to make it. I'm not trying to make it something more than it is, but it's just it colours.
I think.
Go on, Nick.
I think you'd have felt. I think maybe everyone in general would have felt better about the first proper tournament in 9th edition being won by a community hero rather than the Panto villain. You know what I mean?
Gary P won the other.
No, because there's also one in Australia and also another Panto, but that was a one-dayer, right? Like, so that was the whatever.
So therefore, he won it on the Saturday, which meant it was first.
Congratulations!
Big brain. That's how it works.
Yeah, but the Australian one is all gold. It's all gold, especially for this channel, because it was no troops.
No troops.
No troops. Let me tell you what was in the list. There were 3, count 'em boys, in a squadron of 3 mecha jet scrapjets.
Oh, nice.
And then there were 3 more. There was a war boss on a bike. There was a war boss on a killer trike, whatever it's called.
Death Killer War Trike.
Death Killer War Trike. So there was those 2. There was a Death Roller. Told you. Oh no, but it wasn't a Death Roller. It was a Bone Breaker. Sorry.
Bone Breaker, yeah.
Bone Breaker. And then there was also a Burner Bomber. So for the headbutt stratagem, I assume. And there was also a couple of other buggies. And that was the list. That's what won the Australian event, which is just
amazing.
Wild, absolutely wild. And I'm very, very excited about that. Like very, very excited. And they were all in Death Skulls as well. I think that's right.
Okay.
Which gives them. Do you remember what that gives them?
They get a 6-up invulnerable save, and I think they get the Salamander style one, where they get 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 damage reroll, or something like that.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
So for MSU, it's perfect.
Yeah. There was also a unit of 10 Orc bikes as well. So Orc knobs on bikes were in there as well, and there was also a Squig buggy. So it's like all the cars.
Squig buggy.
All the cars. Tell me that's not an awesome army, an Outrider army.
Did he have a Snozwangle ice van?
No. Mr. Gretchen's Ice Cream Emporium. No, they didn't have one of those. Oh. No. So what do you guys got any comments, any thoughts on that? Not for tactical analysis, just for awesomeness is what I mainly.
Well, I was just going to say one of the interesting things I was talking about on Tuesday in the chat for the adjacent show was the trend between salamanders and death skulls, because they have a very similar kind of chapter trait, and that it very much favors MSU style lists because you get a free reroll to hit, to wound, or damage every time you fire a unit. So spreading that across multiple units rather than having it on one unit where only one guy gets to get that reroll isn't as efficient. But these are things that specifically benefit like multiple small unit armies, and that's kind of a trend that's picked up recently since 9th. It wasn't a thing in 8th edition at all, so it's kind of an indicator of what we might see in the future.
I'd like to point out that I did it in 8th edition, so.
You did. I'm so sorry, Nikos.
You did do it, and it was super frustrating watching you always re-roll shit. But can we also talk about whether or not it's a trend and whether or not it's a good trend? It's being portrayed. It's being perpetrated by Orc players. So who would have thought that the Orc players are at that raggedy edge? And not just like, it wasn't an Orc player who's like, here's my 90 boys from before. It was an Orc player who's like, by the way,
motherfucker.
No, it wasn't. No. It's like, by the way, motherfucker, check out all my buggies. And it's like, okay.
So basically, for context, go and watch round 3 of the Echoes of War tournament that we covered, and it's basically that.
Yes, but they got but that list got its dick kicked in. Yeah.
Hey, no, it won its game on stream. It won its game on stream. It's fine.
The Scrapjet one, that is a very good unit for charging in and ramming someone off an objective, because it's fast, hits pretty hard in combat. So it's going to kill like some marine that might be sitting on an objective trying to be tanky. So I can see why it did pretty well.
It's an awesome list, but I'm most excited about the fact that, like, you know, for the past few weeks we've been talking about, a Nurgling's going to ruin the game. It's like Spire Assist, like, what about that AdMech output? How are you going to take Death Guard of objectives? Custodies are basically broken. Like, what are we all going to do in this situation?
Orcs are terrible.
Yeah, Orcs are...
Burn your boys.
Yeah, yeah, and then just some guys like, I don't know if you know this, but these are shock jump dragsters, and you're about to get fucked, son. It's like, okay, I would argue that there's at least one win in there because the guy playing him had no fucking clue what any of his stuff did.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I'm gonna put that down.
We talked about that before, turning up to the table and having an off-meta list and telling, oh, this is what I've got. So if you're playing with standard stuff, your opponent doesn't have to spend any mental resources to know what you're going to do, whereas this guy's turning up, baffling and confusing his opponent. So they're working so hard to try to work out what his army's going to do. They've not got time to react when it's hitting them in the face.
Also, I love this channel because we've talked about these models so much. Like, everyone is just super into just like Valerie's, no one knows what the Swazjango wagon does.
I know what the Death Killer Wartrike is, and that's about it. Otherwise, it's just buggy.
So there's Boomdacker Snazwagon. There is the Mecha Jet Scrapjet. Yeah. There is the
Rucker Truck Squig Buggy.
Is it called the Rucker Truck Squig Buggy? Yeah.
Yeah, Rucker Truck
Squig Buggy. And
is that one that goes really fast?
No, it's
this is the one we haven't named yet.
Is the Shock Jump Dragster. So I've named 4. I don't know if there are 5, but I've named 4.
I think there's only 4.
Well, that means there's 12, and then you've got 9 planes, and then you've got Death Killer Wartrikes.
Yeah, it's a cool list. Like, yeah. Stop reading the names from the Games Workshop web store. I'm not! Like, all I'm looking at is this dumb gun emplacement that apparently moves like fucking half as fast as an elite super soldier. Whatever.
How did we get back there?
Well, it's just because I can't say
Bob's not over it yet.
Not over it. Anyway, so I'm actually really excited about that, and I applaud that gentleman. So tournament results rolling in around the world is an interesting thing, but obviously tournaments can't really kick off loads and loads at the minute. Well, they can in some places, they can't in others. So we're still waiting maybe for the world to return as normal. And Tom, you were talking about the data sets you were just looking at a minute ago.
Yeah, they weren't particularly interesting, but someone posted a pie chart on the 40k Today thing about what percentage of the top tables are made up of what faction. But like half the factions made up 3.4% each, which made me think that it was just one of each, and therefore it was like 3.4%, which makes me think they're counting 28 or 29 factions in there. So I'm just kind of like, well, that's a small sample size immediately. Secondly, it's so early days, and it's like so local meta dependent that it's just like, well, it doesn't necessarily mean things are good. It means that people have a perception that those things are good, therefore they take them, and then they hit the top tables. So I don't know, Neil, I'd be very interested to see those tournament results in Sweden that you're talking about there, because I'm trying to get more of a grip on tournament results in places like Sweden and Poland and Germany and places like that, so I can have a look at what's going on. I'll talk to you later about that, actually. I'd really appreciate that. And therefore, that could be interesting. But as it stands now, I don't think we have enough data to come to like a definitive conclusion about things, and people are definitely still working things out, even if we did. So it wouldn't even be like a definitive indicator of what is actually like really good.
Yeah. So which leads us on to the main topic of the show today, which is both Nick and Tom played a game earlier, which I would love to know about. we'll kick off with that. But then that's going to lead into a conversation where Tom has been away for a while, and now he's got his. If you remember the last conversation we had with Tom on the show, he was like, I've just come back from holiday. I haven't had time to process, but he started to process now. So he would like, he's got some hot takes on kind of his feelings and stuff. And Nick's going to look at some of the secondaries that we have again, and with having quite a few games under his belt now, where he thinks some of those secondaries might fit and lie. How does that sound?
I thought I muted that. My bad.
Okay. Did you hear
Sorry.
all that, Tom?
I did, but I thought I muted my microphone. Instead, you got to hear me rummaging in my paint box. Unlucky.
Okay. So Tom, Nick, let's start with your game earlier. What armies did you take, and how did it go?
Okay, well, I wasn't sure what to take because I wasn't sure what Tom would turn up with. I didn't know whether he'd turn up with like some sort of bleeding edge sniper rifle, or he'd come up with
Hive Tyrants again,
or he'd turn up with a Land Raider.
Yeah.
So I kind of schemed like loads, and also I would just analysis paralysis, like what list do I want to try next? Because I've tried like lots of varied different lists so far in ninth. So I schemed a few lists, but then Tom turned up with a Stomper, so I decided to do my Necron list, which I thought would give the Stomper a good game, but wouldn't like. It wasn't like it could definitely murder the Stomper and give me an easy win. It would just give that army list a good game. And also I hadn't tried out Necrons yet. So I tried like an MSU style Necron list with lots of fast flying stuff. So I had 3 Ghost Arcs with 3x10 warriors inside. I had the Catacomb Command Barge as my only character. He was my warlord, and it was a Mephrit dynasty, and he had the sniping characters trait, and he had the Mephrit staff. So basically, he's good at killing characters. And then I had 3x3 Tomb Blades with Teslas. I had 3 Annihilation Barges, all with Tesla, and then I had 2 Night Guards. And I think that was about it.
Citizen Snips, didn't you?
Oh yes, I had a Triax Stalker with Gauss cannons. So kind of like lots of little units, quite fast and flying. But not kind of resilient. I think the Ghost Arcs were my main primary objective grabbing units, but then the Tomb Blades actually turned out to be quite good at grabbing objectives late on because they're pretty fast and nippy. So Tom had a Stomper, and then
I did.
some other stuff.
I took a Stomper, and then I took a Fortification via Mechboy Workshop. I also lost 10 points because it wasn't painted, because GW decided that they were going to change the legality of my army while I was in a different country, which is, fine, I guess. So that was there. I then had a battalion detachment full of Orcs, so I had 1 Weird Boy, which I made a Warp Head. I had 1 Death Killer War Trike because it's cool, and I had a KFF Big Mech. I then also had a Pain Boy to keep my weird knob from dying, and then I had a bunch of Shooter Boys. So I had a squad of 30, squad of 20, squad of 10, and a squad of 18, which I forgot I'd left at home and had to borrow off Nick. And that was pretty much my entire army, I think. And then we picked our secondaries. I picked Kill More. I picked the one where you have to stand in different corners. And I picked Kill Lots of Vehicles.
And I picked Engage in All Fronts, so that's the new recon. I picked Titan Slayer, so kill the Stomper. And then I can't remember what the third one I picked was. Oh God, totally forgot on the third one I picked now.
Stomper, Engage in All Fronts, and I've forgotten too.
Oh my God.
It doesn't matter. It didn't matter.
Yeah. Anyway, I picked another one. Can't remember it now. Yes, I can't remember what mission we played. It was number 7 in the GT pack.
Yeah, so we had like a circle.
Six objectives. Yeah, roughly in a circle around the board. I won the roll off to go first. I
love how it's roll off to go first rather than a roll off to see who decides who goes first.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I could have given it you, but yeah, I wanted to claim some more of the board. So yeah, I went first. I tickled the Stomper a little bit, but I moved forward onto some objectives. And then Tom shoved his Stomper in my face a little bit.
I healed it first, and then I
Yeah.
I tried to shoot out an Annihilation Barge Nikos used to block one of his corners, and then double move my Diff Killer Warstrike to get a big point on the
Engaging off once.
Engaged North Fronts. I then jumped my big mech so it would allow my other squad of 30 on the corner to advance and charge, which I did. But of course, that only meant I was on 3. It also meant I didn't get the invulnerable save on my Stomper, which I wasn't massively fussed about because the only thing that really affected it was a Staff of Light on the Lord and the Citizen Snips. That's what he's called. There you go. He affects him quite a bit as well. I didn't cast Visions in the Smoke, though, because I perils on my first one. And I didn't want to risk blowing up my guy first.
Do you want to let us know what that does?
So Visions of the Smoke is a psychic power from a new Psychic Awakening for Orcs. And if you cast it on a 9, but then obviously you get the Orc +3 and what have you, you allow a vehicle to reroll all hit rolls until the next Psychic phase. So then you put that on a Stomper, you then give the Stomper more DACA, and then it's hitting on 5s with rerolls, and then every hit generates more shots. Which are also rerollable. Yeah, I mean, you can triple fire your Super Gatler as well if you want to.
And did you upgrade the Super Gatler?
I did. That's the only reason I had a Mech Boy Workshop.
Yeah, and that turns the Super Gatler into damage 2?
It does, and it gives you a reroll on your custom, on your Super Gatler's reroll to see if it can fire again, which is very important because you now can't use a command point to reroll it.
Yes. Yes, so it's huge. It's huge. Like, so you've invested
it's worth
in psychic
points.
Yeah, a psychic power, a stratagem, and a custom job to
and
make
the boys to make the psychic power go off more reliably.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a big investment.
And a pain boy to keep the thing.
And how did that shooting phase go? Because I am fascinated.
Not very well. I think I killed like 2 Annihilation Barges that turn. I think.
Yes, you did.
So that wasn't massive. I then tagged a Ghost Arc so it wouldn't be able to fire unless it stayed in combat, to keep my boys alive in the corner. I think the Nikos just killed a bunch of stuff, didn't you?
Well, I think so. What was interesting in the first turn is I moved up onto some objectives, and then Tom, you ran and then charged with some boys, and because my troops were safe inside the transport, there was only one model, so Tom was able to like charge, consolidate, pile in, and get onto that objective to get an obstacle unit on there to stop me scoring. So I think I scored really low on my primaries on the second
first
turn.
2 turns, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, from that point onwards, my army wasn't great at killing the Stomper because I had the couple of Gorse cannons that were good damage, but everything else was Tesla, so it was like Gorse, so it's like really low damage. So I switched into the avoid the Stomper doctrine in my second turn.
Good doctrine.
And just decided to just try and kill everything else. So I think I managed to kill everything else by my end of my turn 3. I think.
Yeah, you killed pretty much.
And then I had 2 turns to kill the Stomper.
Yeah, I mean, but there are a couple of instances here. So I had a squad of 30 boys that ran at the top. And Nikos spent a lot of time trying to kill them. And he took them down to 1 Orc boy and charged them with 10 Necron warriors and did 5 wounds. And I'm like, right, if I can somehow keep this guy alive, I get to green tide and bring on an entirely new squad of 30 boys. Because I've got one guy, I've got the CP to auto pass morale, and then I can spend the CP on getting the green tide, right? Mm-hmm. So he rolls 5 wounds, and I'm like, right, mate, watch this. And I look at him, I just stare at him and roll 5 dice.
Look at the dice, just
and then look down, there's 4 6s and a 1. And I'm like, if I CP reroll this 1 into a 6, I am going to get 29 free Orc boys. So I go for it, and I roll a 5, and it was so sad because we were so close.
I was like, oh my god, I want this to happen now. Like this, I want this to happen.
It was insane. It was so good. But we got to the end of the game as well, where it's just the Stomper versus the world, and Nikos was putting everything he could in the Stomper. The Stomper was firing it back with everything it could as well, taking out a lot of it.
You had one good turn with the shooting, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I got the psychic power off with the Visions in the Smoke, and I killed like 3 or 4 units. And it was just
so with that combo, it was putting out a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think I tweaked my list. I think what you end up doing is you take out the Death Killer Wartrike because it's not good. It's just funny. You put in another weird boy. You then take out the Pain Boy, and then you just use those like 115 spare points to get more boys in. Because the problem was I just ran out of boys and I couldn't score. Whereas if I had some more boys, that would mean that now Nikos had an issue. He had to deal with those, and then it would buy more time for the Stomper, or I would just get lots of points scoring anyway because the Stomper just goes nuts. Yeah. So It was
I
one
guess
of those.
so I guess the real question is do you think it's like viably worth it? Like I know it's only one outing, but
So, do you want to go 3-2, maybe 4-1? It depends on the tournament at an event.
yes,
You can take a stomper. I think you can absolutely qualify for the GT final with a stomper.
okay.
Absolutely, no question.
Which is pretty like because it's not about like so my brother's a skateboarder, right? And like
Engine incoming.
here's a story incoming. So yeah, my brother's a skateboarder, and he was explaining to me, he was showing me a skate video once of some guys doing some kickflips and whatever the fuck else it was, and I was like, what am I looking for? You know, a bit like when you look at like someone's model painting or whatever it is, like what thing am I looking for to make this guy kicking a board around different to this one? And he said it's not that the guy is doing a kickflip, it's how effortless he makes it look. It's not the action, it's the style. Which always really like because I learned this many years ago because he's been skateboarding since he was a kid, and always something that really stuck with me. It's not so much winning, it's winning like with pure style. You know, like yeah, I could beat you with a sword, right-handed.
Winning with lots of orc buggies.
Yeah, yes. Like when we hear that Marines, a successor Salamanders chapter, has won an event, you're like, okay, yeah, fair enough. But someone's like, I've won with orc buggies, and you're like, you're the guy I want to hear from.
Yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, you're the guy. And I think going 4-1 with a stomper is a great story. So the fact that it might be possible, Tom, is really exciting, right?
It's like what you do with the AOS stats show, where you say, "Oh, the average win rate with this faction is 44%." But if you go but someone goes 4-1 at an event, and it feels like amazing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think sometimes that's hard to translate to an audience. Sometimes to see that because you have to know who the bad guys are. You have to know that it's fairly commonly accepted that you do well with X army, let's say. But I think it's really good. So would you advise people to pick up a stomper?
No.
Oh.
Unless you want to join us as the Games Workshop Heat and just fill the room with stompers.
Yes. Yes. The greatest tennis.
Literal rumbling going on in the event hall.
Yeah.
Stompers just.
Okay. Nick, what was it like? Nick, what was it like facing off against the monster that is?
Oh yeah, it was loads of fun playing the stomper. It was great fun. Because I think certain armies could just rinse it, but if your army's not built to just annihilate tanks, it's 40 wounds and it's still difficult to get rid of. And when you do get the full combo on it, Daka, and the visions in the smoke, really good output.
Imagine if it goes first as well on those boards. Oh my word.
Yeah, there you go.
To be honest, I went 4-1 every event, says Neil, during 8th, so it can't be that hard. There we go. And then the greatest tennis and football players always seem to have more time and make the game look easy.
Yeah.
So that's the analogy I was really going for. Okay, so good game. So Tom.
Yeah, the end of the game was funny because basically, in my last turn, I killed the stomper with my very last attack.
Of the game.
So Tom had another turn to go, but I managed to kill it.
Yeah.
His last wound in the last action of my turn.
Yeah.
So it was super close.
Which meant that you got the 10 points for your secondary for Titan Slayers.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So talking about secondaries then, Nick, because you were going to talk about re-looking at some of the secondaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
And have you had some thoughts on these?
Well, I think before we've obviously talked about you have to build your list to play the primaries because they're always going to be the same every game and they're a big chunk of your point or they're half your points. And I think they're easier to get than secondaries. But I also now think after playing quite a few games of ninth, I think that you need to build your list to have 2 secondaries in mind that your army is built to do.
Okay.
Because I think it'd be pretty dangerous to turn up to a tournament without having any secondaries in mind that your army's done or built towards that, and turning up to a table and going, "Fuck, what do I pick against this unit?" this army. And if you make bad choices, you're not going to score very many points that game, and it's going to be a massive difference. And I definitely think there's some easier ones to build towards or do, but they don't always necessarily get you loads of points. So the one I pretty much have taken every game is engaging on fronts, because it's, you just got to get a unit in 3 different table quarters every turn. And you can kind of build your army to do that, like orcs. Orcs are very, I think there's lots of armies that are quite good at it. Orcs are a particularly good army for it, because they've got lots of little cheap units that are either fast or can deep strike. So like commandos, the deathcopters, and you've got to jump and things like that. So you can kind of build them into your list specifically to play that secondary. Yeah, and other armies have it. Like I think I was looking at Eldar the other day, because I'm an Eldar dickhead now. Whipping Hawks would be good for that. I think Eldar have lots of tools for that kind of game, because they're just generally very fast and have stuff that deep strikes.
What do you think,
so
Tom?
that was kind of
On secondaries. I still need to work. Well, that's fine. I just still need to work out exactly what kind of secondaries I think are most achievable and what you can build towards. Right? He's definitely right, because if it's half a point, it's a big deal. But at the same time, you can also try and build in the ability to deny your opponent's secondaries as well. For example, a lot of people were going, "Well, I'm just not going to take Grey Knights because they give up a kill Psychers very easily," or "I'm not going to take MSU vehicles because they give up kill vehicles easily." Which is why I think you're also seeing specifically the Salamanders do quite well, because they're not reliant upon the vehicles, they're not reliant upon the Psychers, which is an MSU army, but also denies you points.
We talked about that last week. I think you're going to see Marines of all flavors, Chaos types, and Imperium types alone, because you can give it. You basically can make it so that you don't give up enough for the vehicle secondary, which is fairly easy to achieve. And then you can make it so that you don't give up enough of the attrition for units secondary. So really, then a lot of the list, but some of the tactics I've seen is a lot of people building, because there's a double down, right? Like, you want to score the primary. Okay, I want to score the primary, which means I'm going forward. And the secondary that follows up with that, like Nick was saying, is I also want to score points for being in all the table quarters. And progressing forward and line breaker. So knowing that you're already going to do that process because you're going to try and score the primary, there's an automatic set of strong secondaries which I kind of would like to see removed or changed. I know it's early days to say that, but do you understand that it's a win more, it's a win more situation?
But it's also you doubling down on one strategy. And this isn't me saying that's necessarily a bad thing, because I'm the guy who's been saying, well, you pick one win condition and you go fully towards it, right? But if you are in a situation where you're against a list where it's not as he's just got the primary one, now not only are you losing the primary, you're losing one of the secondaries you have built towards as well. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a negative that's going to stop you from taking it. I'm just stating it as a point.
Okay, yeah, good. Yeah, good. Nick, you got any more points to make on the secondaries, do you think?
I definitely agree that building your list to play certain secondaries and also building your list to deny certain secondaries is definitely a thing. Like, I think from an orc list, orcs give up the character kill thing very easily, because it's hard to get a particularly resilient character. Like, weird boys are quite regular, they're easy to kill. Pain boys are and custom force field dudes, unless you're taking the mega armor guy, quite easy to kill. And I quite often had like 5, so you're giving 15 away. And if you're taking orcs, you're having lots of bodies potentially, so you're giving away the thin their ranks one as well. So now I've definitely moved towards writing lists with probably 3 to 4 at most characters, because then that's maxing out the character kill one at 12 rather than 15. I think 9 is probably the optimal level. And again, same with sort of vehicles and tanks. I think that's a really good point to and what's quite, I think, important to remember is that if it's 10 wounds or more, 10 wounds or less, it's only 2 points. So you can spam 10 wound vehicles a bit more than higher wound vehicles. Yes, I definitely think that's important part of list building now as well, thinking about those secondaries to get them and deny them.
I just want to add a little bit on that, though, because if you're looking at the Orc Codex as someone who hasn't really played it like competitively or very much at all, and you're hearing like All characters are squishy. I think it's more that the all characters that you need necessarily to make your army work in general have a habit of dying quite quickly. Because you can look at things like the Deathkiller Wartrike, which looks reasonably durable. It's toughness 6, got 8 wounds, right? You look at things like the Mega Armored Big Mech, 2-up save, 4 wounds, can take a Grot Oiler to tank a wound, not bad, right? But also, if you're going to be taking an Orc army, you are going to want Weird Boys. They're very, very good. And they also have a tendency of blowing themselves up and just doing the job for you. Sometimes you are going to want that Pain Boy that's just going to be following Gaskell around. Sometimes you are going to be wanting things like a cheaper KFF so you can fit more boys in, which is also incredibly squishy, especially when you've got a Weird Boy there, where now you have to have models near to that Weird Boy to make sure it can't be targeted. But equally, if you blow yourself up, you're going to be doing a lot of damage to things around you as well. You also look at things like shock attack guns, again, very, very squishy, and you don't want to be committing bodies around it. And even if you do, you commit a few bodies, well, it's not the hardest thing in the world to kill 10 Orcs or 10 Gretchen and then shoot the thing. So there's a lot of durable characters in the Orc army, but they're not the linchpins.
Yes, and you're also rarely taking them. Like, I think
the durable ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because you're really not designing for durability oftentimes.
No, you're not building around the characters wandering around killing things, right?
No, yeah, exactly. So the Orc book specifically is quite unique in that regard. But Marines, again, another strength of theirs is they don't give up killing characters very well. Like the entire edition, I'm not. You guys on the channel will know that I'm not much of a Marine basher. Like I don't be like, oh, Marines, why they always getting the love. Like, I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it does feel like an edition really designed with them in mind, and what could be true for the first time in a very long time is we have always talked about Marines being like the standard, right? We've always talked about Marines being the standard, but it's generally assumed that in 40k, Marines are the standard of, like, they're your baseline. So are they tougher or not as tough as a Marine? Toughness value up or down, strong or not? They're your standard, and from that point on, you can extrapolate out. What it feels like, and I would like to know what you guys think, it feels like the game, the missions, normally if you put Marines into a battlefield in story, the Marines win. Because they are like the perfectly designed soldier to win, basically. Yeah. That's kind of my premise. So if you believe that to be true, it feels like the battlefield, both secondaries, it feels like Marines are designed not to give their opponents advantages, which is secondaries, and they're designed to win the primary, which is secure the battlefield. So what I'm trying to say is it almost feels like the game has been designed to make Marines good. And there's no negative being added to that. It's just the kind of situation.
I feel like you could put any game you could literally have kill one out in the middle of the table and Marines would be good. Like, that book is just strong. Like,
yeah, I'm not even necessarily talking about the output or I'm talking about like their just base stat line as they live. Like, they're 3-up armor saves, so they're very survivable characters. Cool. You don't have to have vehicles. Great. They don't use hordes, so they're good there. So on the secondaries, they don't really give tons up, is what I'm trying to get at. And then the primary, they do what you need them to do, which is survive on objectives, get to objectives. They can be fast if they want to. So that's what I'm trying to get at. It feels like the game is designed around that, and that also kind of makes the game kind of fun, because then if you can skew a list, let's say loads of vehicles, let's say loads of hordes, whatever that may be, you give up a weakness, but you put a strength out there that they don't have, maybe.
Well, I was when we're talking about hordes, I just want to quantify that a little bit, because I was talking a little bit during the week in my WhatsApps about what I think about hordes. Because I think there are ways you can make hordes work, which I didn't actually talk about when I was writing this up, because we were talking about, do we really have enough information to be talking about this right now? And I'm like, well, this is what I think about hordes and MSU. So in the run-up to the drop of Ninth, a lot of people were talking about how this edition was like really going to negatively impact hordes. And with like things like changes to morale phase, things like changes regarding conga lining units and blast weapons, and not being as flexible around terrain, adversely impacting hordes. But what I think that this was kind of a misread on what a horde actually is. So these changes haven't actually killed hordes; they've just kind of changed the way that you do it. So now, rather than having like a big unit after big unit, you can now break it down into like lots of mini units. Like, you still keep the same model count, all other things being equal, you're just spreading out across multiple units. So if you think about traditional hordes, you think of things like Plague Bearers, you think about things like Orc Boys, you think about things like Termagants and Genestealer cults. All of these horde builds comprise of troops, meaning you can break these units down from like 3 units of 30 into 9 units of 10 and get around the rule of 3 issue. The only other like manifestations of that list that were really massively impacted were things like, but were heavily reliant upon big bricks of units. And I'm specifically talking about Cultists with Abaddon, for example. So Cultists with Abaddon was a good example of this because you needed a big unit of Cultists so that you could use the Tide of Traitors to bring back a massive unit, right? And then you've also got the changes to things like the auras that Abaddon has anyway. Or you could even think about things like lists that had a heavy reliance upon CP, right? So a good example being Orcs, where you'd often need that CP, so you don't really want to split it across 2 detachments, because if you do that, you're draining your CP. But I think with Orcs specifically, that's changed a little bit due to external factors. For example, you're not needing to pour CP into a souped-up shocker anymore, because that's been legended, right, with the detachments that have gone on there.
I do think you may struggle with all those bodies. Like, obviously the way detachments have changed now, if you're splitting up into like 9 units, you're going to have 2 battalions.
I get you, which is the cost of the extra CP, right? Elsewhere. That said, I don't think necessarily hordes are dead. So a good example is, I believe, in places in Eastern Europe, you're seeing like massive hordes, and the reason for this is the game is now shorter. So if the game is now at 5 turns, try killing 360 bodies in 5 turns. Good luck.
It's a
and
really
the points have gone up, so you've got fewer guns.
Especially fearless hordes, like Abaddon fearless hordes, like is like previously, like obviously, like you said, you would run something like a bunch of cultists, and you would want to Tide of Traitors them. But now, if they're just in blocks of 10, you're not going to get those blast results, and they're immune to, like, because Abaddon, I'm right in thinking he makes it so that they're all fearless, right?
He does, yeah. So that was what you were doing. You were keeping him all fearless, so you don't have to spend the CCP on auto-passing morale, and he just wander off, right?
Yeah, and it's like we talked about on the show. Like, the game is always going to get like attacked from different angles that people aren't expecting. So have you got any more like feelings on hordes?
Well, I've played my Orcs. Have I played them once? I think I've only played them once, but I think they were no, twice. So once it didn't go very well because I played against 2 Leviathans with double storm cannons. So obviously that's not going to go very well. But the other game, I think, I could have played that game better. And the other game, I think, went a bit better. And I think, just the fact that how the primaries work now, they score secondaries pretty well because they have lots of little infantry units to do actions with that you're not losing out. So you're not using 30 boys to do an action. You're using 5 commandos to go in the corner and deploy some scramblers. It's very cheap. Opportunity cost of not doing anything with that unit to score that secondary, and just board presence, just being able to spread out all across the board, block your opponent in, make like a net of orcs that your opponent can't walk past. I don't think hordes are dead at all.
No,
but I don't think they're the OP thing that is everyone should be playing.
I feel like there are pull factors towards both going extreme horde and going extreme MSU. I don't think it's really great to go somewhere in the middle, right? Because there are also, as well as there being push factors and pull factors for going horde, like the short number of turns pulling and blast weapons, coherency changes and what have you, pushing, there are definitely pull factors for your MSU builds as well. So if you're looking at MSU, I just need to get this up because I wrote it all down, wasn't I? So I was talking about this obviously with the Salamanders and the Death Skulls earlier and how that was useful. But MSU is generally more efficient because you get to see what more guns do before you fire the next one. So imagine declaring all of your targets with all of your guns before firing a shot.
Yeah.
Like it's not efficient if you do that because you don't know exactly what all of the ones previously are going to do. So it's better to be firing like a block of 50 guardsmen one at a time and just firing all the guardsmen at the same time. Yeah. Which is why they were quite funny in Kill Team once, which I thought was quite good. Sorry, I really haven't written this out well. It's a very big brick of text, but that's okay. We'll make it work. Like you've seen this; it's just a mess. It also allows you to be more flexible with your units as well because you don't have to keep coherency, which is a downside of castling, such as with Marine bricks, where you have to wrap around the characters, which we were talking about earlier, and Tau. And it's very important in these objective-based missions because it frees you up to do actions at a minimal opportunity cost. And by actions, I don't just mean actual actions by the word action. I mean peeling off and going to get an objective or going and standing on something. Because a lot of the time you're handshaking, you're going to lose that unit. You're saying, I am trading my 80-point unit of swooping hawks to get a point or to make you kill them, because it's a thing that you have to do. And the big exception here is now you don't really have a downside in terms of kill points. In ITC, you used to have kill one and kill more. In the ETC WTC, you used to have here's a kill point cap of 6 points to you or to your opponent based on who you kill. The only kill point components you've got right now are the secondaries grind them down, and that's it. And things like kill vehicles and kill psychers. So the kill point components in here are very specific, and if you take certain units, there's really no downside to ever losing them. It's just a straight trade. I lose the unit, meaning it can't do anything for the rest of the game, but I get points.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, that makes loads of sense. I just need to shout out Fluxy Skywalker in the chat for donating 1,500 bits to the show. That's gangster of you. Appreciate that loads.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Nice one, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Nick, you got any thoughts on the Tom thoughts?
Thoughts on the Tom thoughts? No. I'll give you a Tom response.
Fair enough. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I see. I'm not 100% set on this MSU build, like MSU conversation that seems to have come up, right? Because the I was just out for a rip and thought I'd check on my 40k bros. Thanks, Fluxy Skywalker. This conversation about MSU, like everyone's saying that 9th edition is the edition of MSU, but like it doesn't feel like I'm seeing lots. Like, did I not see lots of MSU before? Was I mental?
Nope.
Like I saw lots of Marines, I saw lots of Eldar, I saw a lot of MSU anyway. I don't think
that's what it was. So if you look at the Marine list, what were the Marine lists that were doing really, really well? There were things that were just like, my list is a brick of shit that kills you. Or my list are planes that fly around and kill you. And it's not necessarily even that I'm taking lots of small units because they're small units. I'm taking lots of units. I'm just taking as many of the units that kill you as possible.
Good units, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're small or not. They just do the most damage.
Yeah. So are we defining small as what?
The minimum unit size. The minimum that they come in.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Lots of cheapest ships crap that just walks around.
Okay. We're not. Yeah, we're not designing it. Oh, big shout out also to Dude Day for donating some bits as well. To ban Eldar Nick. Yes.
That's okay, I'm still here. So, specifically, that doesn't necessarily mean that things like Eradicators and Outriders and Bikes are crap. They're just, I am taking this unit, I'm going to make it as small and cheap as possible because it's better for me to be taking 3 lots of this unit rather than taking 1 lot of that unit that I can stack buffs on.
Yes, I hear what you're saying. I also think that it's all gonna change up on some of the stratagems as well. Previously, Nick, like with Nick's Noise Marine build, for example, that's requiring 4 CP to activate, and Nick's really smart. He puts it in a big brick, so he gets the maximum value on the 3 different stratagems that he used. So he gets +1 to wound, he gets extra shots, and then he also gets to fire twice. So,
I can give you a fantastic specific example here.
Please do.
Grey Knights.
Okay.
Now, Grey Knights have been pushed specifically away from the MSU build because they have lost the ability to cast Smite indefinitely without penalty, right?
Right.
But what Grey Knights also do very, very well is they have a lot of stratagems and a lot of abilities that make it very attractive to break up your armies. So things like Cyber Ammunition on a unit of 10 guys. Things like Astral Aim. Things like Sanctuary, things like Transhuman Physiology, things like -1 to the amount of damage that you take on Terminators and Paladins, things like your Litanies, which are all incredibly useful. Grey Knights really want you to break up, but also the MSU is hard for them because they're squishy.
Right, okay. In what way are they squishy, right? Because they've got 3 up armor
because
save.
they've got 3 up armor save, but they're also 1 wound Marines that cost like 20-odd points a guy.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so wounds per point is a bit of an issue in that situation.
Yeah, so it's one of those situations where even if I think MSU is encouraged across the board for the game, in a specific example, such as Grey Knights, I feel like beforehand there was definitely a conversation, right? Because if you're playing an ITC, you take double Paladin and you stand there and you don't ever lose any of your units, which means that you also win the game pretty much all the time. If you're playing ETC or ITC, you can do the same thing, but I think it was probably better to take one squad of Paladins and go MSU with Interceptors out the arse and just whack people really, really hard. Now I think that it's not necessarily a discussion around pack anymore. I think the MSU kind of style has for Grey Knight specifically, unless you're going to do it in a specific way with vehicles and stuff like that. I think it's probably done so. Unless I still think you could play it, but I think the comparison between it and the bricking style is it goes in favor of a bricking style pretty much every single time with the Grey Knights. And I think that's a shame because I know we were talking about this in the WhatsApp because we were saying, oh yeah, I love it when the Grey Knights just drop down and kill my entire army. And I'm like, well, at least with the Grey Knights dropping down and doing a lot of damage with very, very consistent smite damage and then all of the strength 4 shots and what have you, you had some counterplay to that. They're only 24-inch range. You can fan out a little bit. You wait for the hit and then you push on them afterwards because they die like paper. Whereas this one, it's kind of like, oh, can your army kill and deal with like 10 Paladins, 20 Terminators? If yes, you win. If no, you lose. Well, that's a great interactive gaming experience I'm dealing with.
I think I hear what you're saying. Yeah, so like I think those bricking up armies, I think we might start to see stratagems. I'm very excited to get my hands on the codex, the new codexes, and not because of I just want to see the new rules, but more specifically, I want to know the philosophy or the kind of like design direction.
Yeah, the direction they're going in.
Yeah, am I going to have the ability to stack all those buffs on a unit and make super bricks? Or is it going to be like, there's a stratagem to give, like, let's say, destroyers +1 to hit, and it's 1 CP. You're like, okay, that's pretty good. And there's another stratagem that gives another unit type +1 to hit, or like an invulnerable save, or what it is. So I'm just spending lots of 1 CPs everywhere to power units up.
Or what if you had a strategy that had a double use? You can use it on this type of unit and get this, or use it on this type of unit and get this. And that way you then can't cast a stratagem twice in the same phase. So it then becomes like a... I know you've been playing a lot of Legends of Runeterra, and I don't know if it's similar, but if you like have a card and you say, oh, well, do I put it on this monster or do I put it on this monster? And you get slightly different benefits as you go, right? I think that could be cool.
Yeah.
Where it's not like you just use a bunch of stratagems and all the units do all the things.
Yeah.
It's where you have to actually make a value judgment. I think that could be really fun.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, I think if we see it so that they more hardwire them in specifically, I think we might see a more robust game because you're having to make decisions. Especially if you're like, I plan to use these stratagems on this unit, that unit goes right, and you think, oh, okay. I think I don't know if there's not a worse example. That's not what I'm trying to say, but that Noise Marine setup of the volume of stratagems being used on them to make them happen. I mean, I guess the Orc Stomper is that kind of version as well, but you almost think for the price point of the Orc Stomper, you kind of want the ability to multi-upgrade it in some ways. You know, like...
you need to stack it and make it as powerful as you can because you've already got a lot of sunk cost in it.
Yeah, so you might as well just throw some more points in there and also some CP. So, yeah, I'd be excited to see it because that's going to really affect whether or not we see MSU builds or we see big brick builds.
Yeah, especially with the devaluation of CP as well. Sorry, Nick, just to quickly get one in. Because you've got so many points CP now that each one is worth less.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some games where I've not been able to spend all my CP. Like I finished with like 4 or 6 CP. But obviously maybe that's just because I was playing.
You are playing Eldar and Necrons, Nick. So it's not like you use a lot of CP anyway with those factions.
But what I was going to say, I think I hope they go towards. I feel like they're moving away from stacking units on one massive unit because I think the Noise Marine thing traditionally comes from a very old stratagem when one of the very earliest codex, the Endless Cacophony, and obviously to get the most value out of that, you want the biggest units possible. I feel like now more of the stratagems are 1 CP ones where it does a little bit of a buff here and there. So I kind of hope they go towards just sprinkling your CP here and there in your army to do little things rather than stacking CP on one massive unit doing one massive thing. I think that'd be more of an engaging game and more fun to play, I think.
So Nadwolf in the chat is very pissed off, Nick, because it feels like you're getting all of his CP as a guard player.
Yeah,
because
sorry, man.
he's correct. Yeah.
because that's actually a really interesting situation, isn't it? Some people have more CP, but some people actually have less than
I
they
mean, this
used
is what
to.
we're talking about with Gene Stealer cults before I went to Ireland, right? You were reliant upon 20 plus command points. Congratulations, your codex is boom again.
Yeah, and now you don't have them, so actually you've just got a worse army because everyone's got a fairer spread, which is fun.
But it's like the equality versus equity thing, right?
Yeah, that's why the rich people don't want anyone to have the money.
All the command points.
Yeah, because
You spent all your money on Gene Stealer cults. You don't back in your barrel, you peasant.
We had a question in the chat. My mate told me today there are now 20 different Primaris Lieutenant models. Is this really true? I knew it was a lot, but still. It must take them about 5 minutes to make those, though.
One for every legion.
Yeah, but, like, it must take 2 seconds. Just, like,
I mean, you
move
just get an
on.
intercessor kit and you just make one.
Yeah, you have 5 in an intercessor kit. Or maybe this will be 10s, actually. I would never buy a Marine.
They do sell them in 10.
Yeah, I'm never going to buy a Marine. That's my promise for 9th edition. I'm a non-Marine player. That's how I define myself.
Right.
Okay. Tom, you got any more points?
No.
Okay.
I've got a shout out, though, if that's it, though.
Well, no. I was wondering if you have any more summation, do you think, that of stuff that you've...
Not impressive. As a non-playtester, your thoughts?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, it's just you did it with that inflection, so I assumed it was like, oh, there we go. Never mind.
Yeah, anything or not? Any summation? No summation. Okay.
I can't summarize my my deep and complex brain, unfortunately. You need to go back and watch the entire show for my buffet of wisdom that I have laid out upon you.
So what are you guys excited about exploring next and using?
Eldar.
Oh, Nick, disgusting.
My fall from grace. It's been quick.
Yeah, very quick. It's like immediate. What about you, Tom?
Let me just get rid of the background.
Some custodians.
Naked men.
I don't know
if
we've
explore naked men more.
I might just ruin TOS because no nudity is allowed on stream, but it's too late now. You've got nudity.
It's too late. It's too late.
There you go.
Yeah, get the
Hope
oil
there's no
pouring.
staff in the chat.
When they're fully painted, Tom, I promise. Promise the Twitch chat that when they're fully painted, we will do a filmed battle report of the naked custodians battling it out.
Yeah. What amongst themselves?
No, I mean
18 naked custodians at Ram Ranch.
All right, Nick. What about you?
What summarizing thoughts?
Yeah.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed all of my games so far. I've tried to play a variety of different armies. So I've played Chaos, I've played Necrons, I've played Orcs, I've played Eldar, I've not played Vanilla Marines yet, but I wrote a list yesterday of Vanilla Marines, but no Primaris units. So that was my rule: no Primaris units. And I kind of focus on MSU, just board control kind of units, and building secondaries into my list. And I think the secondaries that I think are really easy to build to. Are the engage on all fronts and deploy scramblers, because they're two different types of secondary. Deploy scramblers is pretty easy to achieve, I think, as long as your opponent doesn't have potentially like a horde would be a hard counter to that, because it can stop you deep striking cheap units in to do it and blocking you get to engage on all fronts. I guess what I'm most excited about is just writing more lists and playing more games. I think I think it's in a 40k is in a great place right now. I think.
Yeah.
Really exciting.
Yeah, I really enjoyed our game today.
And I've loved absolutely all of my games that I've played.
Same. I've only played one.
They've all just all been really, really interesting. Different ways to score. Objectives matter. I like I think 5 turns. Initially, like games before were like 6 and 7 turns, but 5 turns feels like, because of the small board, it's action from the get go. It doesn't feel like that. Doesn't feel too short. Feels just about right. It's nice having a defined number of turns. I think time will tell how good it actually is, because it becomes stale and are you just doing the same things every game? Like, am I just playing the same secondaries every time because certain ones are just easier and better to do and build your list to? Because I think secondaries, what my impression of secondaries are, you turn it to the table and you think, what have you got across? What is across me? What have you got in your army? I'm going to pick secondaries to counter that or against you. But I think so far, what I'm doing in my secondaries is just building my list to do certain ones and then picking one which is countering what you have.
I mean, like to add on to that, one of the things I like to do in the ITC sometimes, when I rarely played that horrible system, was I would take secondaries that weren't necessarily ones I thought were realistic for me to score, but they forced my opponent to do something I knew they didn't want to do to avoid me from getting it. And I feel like that's one of the things that you can do in this new edition. Even if there's no good secondary, it's just like, well, I'm just going to take this one because now you have to... It's basically just keeping you in check, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I personally,
I think
go on, Nick. Sorry.
I was going to say Linebreaker is actually, I think, one that's quite good for that. So when I played Paul on Wednesday, he picked Linebreaker because he got Grey Knight, so he can deep strike in, and I didn't have any units that I could spare to sit at the back of the board in my deployment zone to stop him deep striking into it. So picking Linebreaker kind of almost forces your opponent to sit back in the backfield when there aren't really any objectives. So that could be a good one to like force your opponent not to do something they don't want to do.
That's exciting as well because that's a big gamble, right? Like, are they gonna almost fall for that? You know, and are you going to be able to apply that pressure? Yeah, choosing those secondaries to achieve that is fascinating. And I think like I'm most excited as always to watch these games, do some coverage, and see these games happen. I'm very excited to play them as well. Very, very excited. I'm just desperate. I want the venue to be done, so that we can just play games forever and do game coverage and just smash it.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you guys. I think also the game is in a very interesting place. I think there's so many combinations, there's so many interactions, and we haven't yet seen the game as maybe it's fully intended because we haven't seen the codexes, right? So we haven't seen how those secondaries, those actions that we might see coming out of those codexes are going to occur. So I find that quite interesting. I do also think this is a kind of like this is a bit of a, you know, make a clip of it moment, that I think that we will see Marines released now, like a swath of Marines, far too much, like, you know, an overwhelming amount, and then I don't think we're going to see Marines for maybe a couple of years. Like, are my thoughts.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I think we're going to see.
Nice.
That would be great. I think we're going to see like a lot of the factions like revisited, effectively.
Yeah. I think Chaos are going to get a swath of new range at some point because we've kind of seen a little bit of it with like the Greater Possessed. I feel like he's a prototype for new style Possessed models, and we've seen like the demonic spider that was in one of the starter sets. I'm sure there'll be more stuff. Obviously, squats are coming out.
That'd be the Venom Crawler.
Yes, the Venom Crawler. Yep.
Yeah, squats are going to be coming out. What else is going to get a new? Eldar probably going to get new Aspect Warriors. In the near
I think
future.
we'll see a whole new redesign of the Eldar. I do think, and I think that's we know for Orcs. Yeah, we know Orcs coming out, right? So there's so much that I think we're going to see. I think, and there's also the likelihood. Thank you, Final Cookie, of the Emperor's Children release, the World Eaters release. So you know they're planning. I think we're gonna see the Marine dump, and then we're gonna see 9th edition 40k is gonna be the release edition, where it's just
what we could see is a Chaos Space Marine Codex, and then a similar style supplements like they did with the Space Marine chapters for Chaos. So we could get Chaos Space Marine Codex, and then we could get Emperor's Children supplement, World Eater supplement, etc.
On that. I've been, you know how I've been listening through the Horus Heresy series on Audible in my car?
Yeah.
Well, I've got to Fulgrim, and it was one of the Horus Heresy books I read as kind of like a teenager that I really enjoyed. And I've been listening to it in the car, and I had to turn it off. It's so fucking bad.
Oh, Fulgrim. I really liked Fulgrim.
I'm only a couple of hours in, man. I really liked Fulgrim as well. It's got that kind of nostalgia for me, but I'm just like, oh god.
Maybe it's the voice actor. Sometimes
I don't think it's a voice actor. I think the voice actor suits the Emperor's Children quite well, actually. It's just like,
I read Fulgrim. I liked Fulgrim when I read it.
Some of the scenes are just like, what are you doing? Just like, whatever. It's fine.
Okay.
I'll tell you later, but just my word.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure having you both on the show. Thanks very much. Thank you so much.
It's been good fun, man. It's been good to be back.
Yeah.
Yes. Great to have you on as well, Rob. Thanks for coming on to the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming back, Rob.
Thanks.
And thanks to Dan in the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
He's been a bit quiet.
Yeah, it's been a bit quiet.
Thanks to Nikos for being propped up by Dan.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. Thanks to Gozzy, obviously.
And playing lots of games so that we'd actually have something to talk about.
Any shout-outs?
I want to give a shout out to the one guy on YouTube who downvotes every single video that we put up, and for a couple of reasons for this. Firstly, I really appreciate the commitment. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Secondly,
Kudos.
I really appreciate how your hatred is so strong that you're actually giving us engagement. So thank you very much. Please keep doing that.
Yeah.
Please do that. I really enjoy that too.
I think we should give Adam Jackson a shout out again because he's always commenting on the YouTube videos. So.
Oh God, he's actually in the chat today. What's happened here?
Yeah. Adam Jackson is great in the YouTube videos. Can I also just say, can I shout out Nick for also you started to reply to some of the YouTube comments, which I'm loving. Like I'm loving that.
I'm a YouTube comment moderator.
Yeah, you are.
Oh,
so I appreciate that. So big shout out to all of our YouTube guys, and actually big shout out to anyone who, if you are interested in doing so, please do jump onto the iTunes, our iTunes, and leave us a review. That is always fun. Because I would quite like us to get, I don't know if you guys know, the 114th best podcast in leisure in the UK.
Leisure?
In the UK?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
right.
Wow. Nice.
So
nice.
if we can
get into that top 100, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, actually, that's not even true. I think, sorry again, Tommy, I think we might have been in like the 80s or something of leisure. So if we can get maybe like top 50 in leisure, maybe under a gardening podcast, but above an automotive podcast, I think that would be really fun. That'd be fun. So please do. Oh, gosh, he's in the chat. Amazing.
Yeah. So it took him 2 more minutes.
What a celebrity. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you. I'm gonna shout out everyone on the Wargamer Patreon and everyone on Twitch. Thanks, guys, for joining us live. You can join me again tomorrow for the stream streak to continue. It's day 143 tomorrow. Which is which is pretty fun. Updates coming on the Super Series or the T Sports Arena as well. Join us next week for more 40k coverage. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a great time, and we'll see you guys soon. Thanks to Nick and Tom again. These guys are brilliant. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye, dudes.